just check the logo tab. You know.
Hello. Okay. I think we're back. Sorry about that. It took longer than we expected.
So in terms of the weather,
Hold on. Amy's not back yet. Can you guys hear us okay?
can you guys hear us? Oh, connecting to audio.
If you can hear us, sorry about this. Our Wi-Fi here in Ohrid has not been fantastic. We can see you guys, but if anyone is speaking, we cannot hear you yet.
Can people hear us? Okay.
Okay, people are starting to come back.
If you can hear us, let us know.
You can see us. Okay, Amy, can you hear us?
Okay.
Hi, can you guys hear us now?
Can you guys hear us? Yes.
Okay.
Hi, I'm here. I just got back in.
Sorry about that. Our Wi-Fi here in Ohrid is not great.
We need to work on this. In terms of the weather, we were there in May, June, and July, but we actually know a lot about this because we have a lot of friends there now.
And we considered going back at other times. So it definitely got warm in June and July, especially July, but it did not feel as hot as other places. In Serbia this summer, and even Sarajevo, it was miserable. Turkey, Istanbul wasn't that bad. It is a somewhat more elevated city. It actually can get cold and snow in winter.
So that's the thing. It gets surprisingly cold in winter, and it even snows in December. So it's,
but it didn't. I'm pretty sensitive to heat and humidity, and like I said, Novi Sad was awful this summer, and Sarajevo frankly was too hot for me. I don't recall having any problem with Istanbul. It seemed perfectly fine. May, June, and July really had almost no rain. It was a good time of year to be there. Other than that, I can't speak to spring or fall. We did look at going there last winter instead of going to Croatia, and it was just too cold. I mean, Istanbul can get downright chilly, and it's also very rainy there in winter.
just an unrelated tip that occurs to me. It's not a city.
They're all cold at once.
I mean, if you're going to be there for longer than a week, you probably want to be in an Airbnb as opposed to a hotel, because laundry services are actually expensive. And you want to make sure your Airbnb has a washer, if not a dryer.
It's not just expensive, it's hard to find a place to do it. I mean, when we lived in Prague, it was very easy there was a place right nearby where I could get our laundry done very cheaply and very quickly, but it was really expensive and difficult to do. There was one place in all of Fatih that did it, and that was not a good thing. So that's a really good point. I'm glad you remembered that.
Yeah.
So that's a weather question. Other questions?
Do you take advantage of the rest of the country? So not just day trips, but like spending significant time in places like Kash or Fethiye?
We have not as of yet. The way we travel, we're slow mads. We don't usually rent a car. We just go to a location and we explore that location pretty in depth with a couple day trips out here and there, depending where we're at. Istanbul, there was so much to do. I mean, we never even got around to taking a cruise, along the Bosphorus Straits. We didn't even do that. So no, we did not do any day trips.
But I wish we had. I mean, we have been to a few places in Turkey or on other
cruises.
But I wish we had, because it's such a fantastic country and there's so much to see. And the trains aren't great, but the buses are great. There are buses. There's pretty
Between cities.
Yeah, between cities.
Yeah.
It's a pretty easy country to get around. There's so many fabulous places that I've since read about since we were there. And unfortunately, we went north.
I want to mention the museums. We forgot to mention that before. Istanbul has got some fantastic museums that are well worthwhile. So definitely, if you're at all a museum person, check those out. And I think a walking tour is also a great way to get the lay of the land and learn a little bit of the history of it as
Place
well.
with all the sarcophagi, Alexander, that's great.
Oh, it's the Istanbul Archaeological Museum, and they've got something there called the Alexander sarcophagus, which is not actually Alexander the Great sarcophagus. It's one of his generals, but it is one of the premier surviving sculpture. It's not a sculpture, it's a sarcophagus. It's one of the premier surviving sarcophagi in the world, and it is beautiful.
I mean, there are 50 different sarcophagi that are all equal. I mean, each one is more stunning. And the courtyard, I mean, we were wandering around in the courtyard and there are just fields of these ancient Roman sculptures just sitting there. And then I needed to use a restroom. That's a recurring theme, you'll note. And I went into another building, and the building was full of all of these antiquities just lying in the hallway, lining the hallway. There's so much of them. And I couldn't help but think that these are priceless and somebody could just come and walk off with them. But they were just, there's so much stuff. And it's like a metaphor for the city itself. There's so much history that they don't know what to do with it all. It's just fabulous. It's just incredible. Other questions, thoughts, comments? We were disappointed.
Somebody trying to ask a question?
There's a question in the chat.
Oh, where is the darn?
Can you see it?
Where's the chat? There's a chat. Okay, sorry, did not see that. Okay. Where are the other travelers in Istanbul? That's a good question. It's something we never had to think about.
I think for the most part, Turkish people are very hospitable. So if you're staying anywhere that is not just for tourists, people will introduce themselves. Michael got to know the baker next door. We got to know the other people in our apartment building, people who had been there, some locals. You sort of have to take a chance. You know, you sort of have to be open to the possibility. I think online is also a great way. Yeah.
So Amy runs a wonderful group called Go With Less, and I'm not sure what day of the week it is, but once a week, Amy will post a thread where there are comments with each part of the world, and you can say where you're going to be, how long you're going to be there. And I highly recommend that group and that thread, because once you're part of that and you say to people, I'm going to be in Istanbul from May 1st to May 31st, other people will get in touch with you and you will start making connections that way. So Amy, thank you for sharing that, because it's a great resource.
The first week we were there, we met a fellow online and he invited us, he was an Indian fellow, and he invited us to his apartment, the dinner party where he made fabulous Indian food. And there happened to be, 10 other people there. So we were suddenly tapped into this larger network. People are very, very hospitable.
So Linda, you're asking if we'd recommend staying there a couple of months.
That's not long enough.
Obviously, that depends on how you like to travel and if you are doing other things. We're still working. So when we're in a city, we're not touristing every single day. So for us, it's very easy to spend a couple months in a place. I do think Istanbul would be a very easy place to spend a couple months, because I don't know what you're like as a tourist, but I can only take in so much in a day or two, and a museum and a walking tour, and then I need a couple days just of downtime to absorb what I've seen, look at my photos, et cetera, et cetera. Just read a book, whatever. Istanbul has so much going on. I mean, just visiting the different mosques, which you would think once you've seen a mosque, a beautiful mosque, you think, well, I saw that one. You want to go see the others because each one is different and special in its own way. So yes, I would think you could spend there a couple of months there.
The city has, like a lot of cities, has those museum passes, and the more days you get, the cheaper it is. But we have found, I think we did 4 days, but I think 3, and I think I would rather do 2 days and then wait a day or two and just sort of wander and not do museums and then do 2 days. I know it's seductive because you save so much money by doing 4 days, but it's hard for me, especially in a city like Istanbul, to do tourist things 4 days in a row. So I think I would do no more than 3 days and then take a break. But there is a lot of things to see.
You could spend, we mentioned Topkapi Palace, which is where the old Sultan used to live. It's the old Sultan Palace. You could spend a day there easily.
Oh, and so the Grand Bazaar is a thing, and then the Egyptian spice market is another thing, which is basically the same thing as the Grand Bazaar, which is Turkish delight and spices, and they all sell. They're all sort of indistinguishable at this point. But so go through the Egyptian spice market, down to the area along the Golden Horn, towards the waterfront, and look for at the entrance to a mosque, which will be difficult to see. I can't remember the name of the mosque, but there's a fabulous mosque. There's just, most people don't know about it, and you sort of have to seek it out, but look it up online, but it's worth seeing. And there won't be anybody there because, you know, like so many of these great cities, you go outside of the central tourist areas and you might find yourself, you know, you'll find yourself alone in a mosque. Maybe, I mean, maybe we were there in unusual times, but if you do get outside of that major tourist area, the tourist attractions, they're just not mobbed the way, you know, the way they are in that central district.
And go early. I mean, that's one of my big tips when the earlier I go in the morning, the more I have these places to myself. And you know, I just don't like being around. I know it's ironic. I'm there as a tourist myself. I just don't like being surrounded by crowds of people.
Also,
I'm sure most of you guys don't.
Well, I mean, like with the museum pass, it's been really, really cheap. We got the museum pass, God damn it, we're going to see every museum that's available to us. But in a way, that's good because it ends, you know, you're forcing yourself, forcing Michael, I'm forcing Michael to go to these out of the way locations, and they force you out of the city. And I mean, we went to a couple of places that were far, far afield, and the location may not have been so great, but it was fantastic seeing the city, you know, outside of the tourist area, just to see how the Istanbular, which is a great word. I love that word.
Louise, I enjoyed the Mosaic Museum as well.
Yeah.
There's a museum. If we're talking about the same one, it's underground basically, and it's got these amazing Greek mosaics from, you know, antiquity that are there. And that was fascinating to get to see.
You should absolutely read a novel set in ancient times, whether it's Constantinople, whenever it is. While you're there, you should read a book that is set in those times.
So I think you guys can keep posting questions in the chat, or you can unmute. Let us know if you've got any more questions.
I think oh, healthcare. You may or may not know this, but Istanbul is famously a location for medical tourism. It's extremely cheap. We did a chat 2 months ago about two people who had gone and have knee replacement surgery, and it would have been 30,000.
It was more like 40,000.
40,000 with insurance in the United States, and it was 16,000, and they had the best possible care. The doctor came to their apartment. It was fantastic. So while we were there, I got new eyeglasses, not these, but I got rimless glasses. It's a complicated single lens, but I got, you know, frameless glasses, which would be, you know, $500, $400 in the United States, and frames and lenses were $100, and they were done in 24 hours. I don't know how they do that. The glasses are made instantly, incredibly cheap. Dental care, incredibly cheap, but it's going to be, you know, Western Europe or American modern, top notch, but it'll be 1/10 the price that you would pay in America.
Something no one's asked yet that we didn't address was English. Is English spoken there? It's not like Western Europe where English is basically a language at this point, but in basically any place where you're going to be as a tourist, you're going to have people speaking English, and you won't have a problem. And if you're outside of that area, Google Translate is great. I got to know the baker next to our hotel. He spoke no English. I spoke no Turkish. We sat down one day and had this wonderful conversation with Turkish tea, and I met his kids using Google Translate, and I'm still in touch with him today. So don't fret over English being spoken.
You talk about the coffee culture.
Coffee culture is amazing. Turkish coffee is a real thing, and they are proud of it. And you can absolutely go around and enjoy that. One food thing that we did not like was there are these sort of buffets, I guess I would describe them as, and they're pretty traditional. A friend one night wanted to take us to one. He said it's the best Turkish food around, and you go there and you pick out a few items. It was not very good food. Well, I would not recommend that.
I'm not a big meat eater. I don't really, you know, I lean vegetarian in my sensibility, and so I was picking all of the things that didn't look like they had meat, you know, like the stuffed peppers and the rolled grape leaves. And it, you know, you pick what you want and they bring it to your table. And literally everything had meat anyway, even though it was like deceptively hidden, it was stuffed inside. They're very, 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 you know, meat oriented. They do the mezzo plates. That's, you know, you order lots of little dishes. Mezzo. But yeah, we were not huge fans. And everybody loves the Turkish cooking, but it was just so meat heavy. Didn't love it.
More questions?
But the desserts were fantastic. I really loved them.
Somebody, Feels like somebody might be trying to ask a question.
So coffee hit Istanbul first before it hit the rest of Europe, and it sort of blew the mind. And it sort of pressed up into Europe and blew the mind collectively of everything. But it was a big deal, and it still is a big
Oh
deal
my, my car's going out.
of the coffee. And Turkish, you absolutely have to have Turkish coffee, which is this particular way it is prepared.
Well, that puts us at an hour, and unless someone has another question, which if you do, don't be shy, we're happy to answer it, but if no one does, on the Travel Pitfalls group, I posted a link to all of our previous coverage. Please do not hesitate to, I'm on social media, I'm on Facebook all the time as Amy Rutherford, and Amy Dresser, you know that too. Don't be shy about reaching out. We're always happy to answer questions. We've got our Brent and Michael newsletter. So if you're not subscribing to that, that's a great resource. We'll be doing this again, and thank you, everybody.
And if you want Farouk's WhatsApp contact information, he can get you a good deal on anything you want. I absolutely guarantee it. Just email me or contact me on social media.
Otherwise, good night from Macedonia, and we'll hopefully see everybody again on our next chat.
Bye, thank you.
Right.